Let's be revolutionary. Yeah, we can be so much more. Let's be more than ordinary.
Hello, I am Lee Wilson, and this is Focus Forward Business Design. So being that we're going into a new year, it was not totally a coincidence that I'm starting this year out with motivation as a topic. However, I didn't want this to be the normal rah-rah New Year's goals conversation. I mean, I could do that, but you can tune into any podcast for that, and likely you don't even need to, as we're so good at pumping ourselves up with New Year's resolutions that are going to change our life for 2 weeks. I wanted to get into the real heart and soul of motivation. I know it's a term that's tossed around daily with no care or caution with how it's used. I'm sure you've heard, or you may have even said one of these things in the past week, month, or maybe even today already. I'm just not motivated to go to the gym. Let's order in, I'm not motivated to cook. Or how about this one? I can't get motivated to get moving in the morning. I could go on, but you get the picture. But here is the thing, motivation is the key to everything. Without motivation, there's no drive, no fire, no ambition, no excitement, no reason to even have goals. Here's the thing though, motivation shows up in so many different ways in our lives, whether it be great motivation or lack of motivation. It's a part of every decision that we make. No, really, every single one. You may be saying, but Lee, motivation has nothing to do with me feeding the dog or taking out the trash, or even something larger like helping my child with homework. These are just things that must be done every day in the overall scheme of daily life. But that, my friend, is where you are wrong. It seems like we don't give motivation all the credit it deserves. It gets defined as either bad, no motivation, or good, very motivated. But what about everything in between? You may argue that those items I mentioned earlier are just to-dos. There is no conscious motivational energy involved in them. I'd argue with you on that. Let's look more carefully at this. There are as many definitions of motivation in the different dictionaries as there are fast food restaurants. But if you take the gist of all of them, it simply comes down to this: the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. Everything that we do each day is a choice. And in order to determine which choice, A or B, and sometimes C or D, we have to process a decision. Each decision is based upon the outcome of what each choice will result in. The outcome can be dictated by a number of things depending upon, wait, here it comes, what the motivation is. I will grant you that some items, for example, taking out that garbage, you quite likely weighed the outcome years ago. Therefore, you don't have to mentally go through all of the potential outcomes every time you take the garbage out, because you know if you don't, the house will stink, or the dog's going to drag it all over, and you're going to have to explain to your spouse, your roommate, or anyone else that is questioning why they have a banana peel in their bed from the dog carrying the trash around, that the outcome of that conversation will not be so desirable. Just easier to take the trash out. But let's say, take that same trash and go back, say, 25 years to a younger time in your life. You can do your own math. Just get back to about 12 years old or so. Okay, are you there? All right. That same task of taking out the garbage may get analyzed and questioned every time your mom or dad asks you to take out the trash. Why is that? Well, first of all, because you're 12 and everything's a battle at 12. Secondly, as you are arguing about taking out the trash, you're gauging what the outcome would be if you didn't do it, or if you did. See where I'm going with this? Motivation has appeared. You may have been motivated to do what you were asked because the repercussions of not doing what you were told were not at all that pleasant. Or maybe the reward for doing what you were asked, say your allowance, motivated you to do the chore. Either way, regardless of the decision that you made, it was based on a type of motivation. So now that you have your mind wrapped around that, you can come back to whatever age you are today, or whatever age you want to be. I'm cool with that. Motivation is an awesome, powerful, sneaky, sometimes nasty little critter, and we're going to look at 4 different types of motivation that show up in different areas of our lives. All right, here we go. Number 1. Intrinsic motivation. This is the one that typically rules those New Year's goals. The classic example is losing 20 pounds. Your reason for doing this may be that you will feel better about yourself, or be more confident, or look sexy in those jeans you got for Christmas that almost fit you if you lay on the bed, wiggle your legs really fast. This is an internal motivator and can be some of the hardest to maintain, as we know how easily we let ourselves off the hook. Time for that workout, buddy, huh? So the good news is that even though the New Year's goals sometimes don't have the longevity that we wish they did, the strongest motivators are intrinsic. They are the dreams, the goals, the visions that mean the most to us personally. The motivation comes from within us. We have created it and we're responsible for keeping it fired up. Intrinsic goals can be extremely powerful because we're doing it for ourselves or for something that we strongly believe in or want. So another example might be a charity event that you're in charge of. This is likely an internal or intrinsic motivation because it's a passion or something that is really important for you to succeed at. Okay, number 2 are the extrinsic motivators. These are the motivators that are the result of something outside of yourself that is pushing you. Maybe that 20 pounds that you wanted to lose did not come from the desire to be more confident, but was the result of a partner putting the pressure on you to lose 20 pounds so that you would be the attractive person that you were when you first met. That fundraiser, that may be your child's school saying that you really need to step up and be more involved in helping the school raise money, and therefore you should chair this event. These are motivators, no question about it, but it's something or someone else's desires that's fueling it. All right, before I move on to number 3, I want to back up just a bit and tell you that there are many minor motivators that fall under the titles of intrinsic or extrinsic, as every motivator will be one of those 2 types. So you can think of these as subcategories of the 2 big dogs out there. All right, third type of motivation we're going to talk about, which would be a subcategory of intrinsic, is one that we talked about earlier when you were 12 and taking out the trash for allowance. This would be reward or incentive-based motivation. This form of motivation can vary greatly and can also be more effective with some people than others, depending on the reward. Since people value different things, this is one that needs to be very individualized. If you're hoping to use this to have someone accomplish a goal, and that goal is important to you, for example, you may be in charge of getting a large project done on a tight time scale, and you need your support team to really step it up. Sally may be motivated by a bonus if the project is completed by the deadline or early, while Bob, he may care less about the money, but a long weekend off with his family would go the distance to get him motivated. In order for the reward or incentive to be a form of motivation, it must resonate with the receiver. Number 4, fear-based. This motivation, I suppose you could also go back to when you were 12 on trash duty and you knew that if you didn't do what you were asked, then likely mom or dad was not going to be happy and the outcome was not going to be pretty. And therefore it was a fear-based motivation. All right, as much as this probably falls under this category, I'm going to go a different direction with this one so that we can take something productive away from it. We know that most times when you set a goal, if you announce it to the world, or at least a group of close friends, a level of accountability has been organically planted. They're going to ask how things are going, how's it looking? They're looking for results. The fear of not completing the goal and having to admit failure or embarrassment, that's a form of fear-based motivation. To save face and show up as the person who does what they say they're going to do avoids the negative outcome of not completing the task or goal. This can be a great tool to use as long as the fear is real, and it will really push you to finish the goal. You could see how you could use this with almost any goal you have, just to put that little extra bit of pressure and accountability on yourself. How great will it feel when you have succeeded in that final goal? In the coming weeks, I am going to be talking about mastering motivation, tools to use to sustain great motivation, and ways to regain motivation when it feels like you may have lost it. I hope that this has been helpful, and as always, please put your questions or comments below so we can answer them personally. Please share this with 5 friends and hit that like button. You are an amazing person with goals and dreams that deserve to be reached for. Remember, at the end of the day, it is always your choice to focus forward.
Let's be revolutionary.